The following clip you're about to see is a small excerpt taken from my exclusive show on Rumble called Lies You Can Trust. It's fully uncensored because Rumble does freedom of speech. You can check it out live every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. Central Time. But for now, enjoy this clip. Trump shuts down USAID. It's allegedly an agency created by Congress to do good things. I'll tell you about that in a second. USAID, when Elon's team came in, it's like, yeah, we gotta look at your files. We're doing efficiency stuff here. They said, no, you're not gonna look at our files. That was, I believe, Saturday night, and Trump has then shut them down. It's like, what were those executives at USAID trying to hide? Well, we got some of what they were trying to hide, ladies and gentlemen. Here is a synopsis of it. Now, there's some legal stuff. I mean, legal looking stuff. It's not actually legal. But here's the gist of it. This is the tip of the iceberg, and this is a pretty big tip of an iceberg, ladies and gentlemen. Summarized here with this tweet that Elon retweeted. Let me get this straight. Fauci's NIAID and USAID sent over $40 million in U.S. taxpayer support to a scientist in Wuhan, China, who was working on bat coronavirus emergence research, who also became patient zero for COVID-19. Congratulations to him. That's a big accomplishment. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you might be thinking Biden pardoning Fauci certainly makes a lot of sense now, and it made a lot of sense to begin with. It just makes more sense now. If we start thinking for ourselves with the information we just saw, that information alone, we would say this agency that Trump is shutting down and cleaning out because it is nothing but a ball of corrupt trash using your and I's money, because they have no money themselves. They use taxpayer money, which means it's our money, to do devious work. Devious work number one, start a pandemic. Was it a serious pandemic? No, it was taken very seriously, though. That's a huge problem. So they were using our money to the tune of $40 million, sending it to, well, a lab in Wuhan, China, doing bat coronavirus research. And the scientists they were sending it to at that lab became the first person to get infected with COVID-19. Now you might say, I didn't know that scientist also went to the wet market to lick the pangolin that had COVID-19 that came from nature, just natural emergence. Well, that's the deal, ladies and gentlemen. And you have to ask yourself, aside from like pandemic, we know it, crimes against humanity. Yes. Save that discussion for another time, though, because the first discussion, just point blank range, is an agency that uses $40 million to fund research that allegedly sets off a worldwide pandemic that then becomes the justification used to usher in totalitarian lockdowns and control for multiple years. Is that a wise use of U.S. taxpayer money? No. Okay. Well, who was stewarding that money? USAID. Okay. Not only did they waste that money, they put it to a very destructive use. If everything else they did was gold, that's still cause to shut them down. The problem is everything else they have done is not gold. It is putrid dog poop with syphilis. Next up, so stuff is coming out left, right, and center about USAID. It's just every time you look, it's like there's another terrible thing. They're funding transgender stuff in other countries, woke Sesame Street, using millions of dollars to do things like this. So we're going to hit some of the highlights. But first, here's President Trump just telling it like it is, talking about USAID being shut down.
Or what's going on there?
Well, it's been run by a bunch of radical lunatics, and we're getting them out. USAID, run by radical lunatics, and we're getting them out, and then we'll make a decision.
So getting them out, and then the decision to be made is presumably, do you just trash the agency, or do you keep it alive and just restock it with better people? It's a good question. Right now, I don't know if it's salvageable. I think it was started on fraudulent terms. More on that in a second, because you're like, what's this USAID? First, a couple other devious things, which, by the way, if you want a resource on all things government corruption, Mike Benz is your guy. He is not only a wealth of information on this USAID agency, but so much more. He did an episode with Joe Rogan maybe a month or so ago, maybe 2 months ago. It is a mind blower. You have to follow him, Mike Benz. You can see his Twitter account right here. Here's Elon's summary of his tweet. USAID has been paying media organizations to publish their propaganda. And Mike Benz brings some of those receipts. Wow, how glorious is that? USAID has been pushing censorship laws in Europe. Mike Benz's tweet, this is the biggest ticking time bomb on the internet, the single biggest existential threat to U.S. free speech and the revenue models of all U.S. social media companies. And yes, it's USAID's fault too. Ooh, coming in hot. Meanwhile, the Democrats are freaking out that this is being shut down. They are against the movement that's rooting out corruption. You might be on the wrong team. You just might. Maybe not. But you probably are. Now, USAID, USAID, however you want to call it, it certainly wasn't on my radar as something I know much about. I didn't even know what's that an acronym for? What's that stand for? It stands for United States Agency for International Development. Sounds good. 1984 playbook, you make bad things sound good. So let's make it sound good. What do? It's the U.S. government agency responsible for administering foreign aid and developmental assistance to support economic growth, improve health and education, promote democracy. Boy, do they promote democracy. You'll enjoy the next clip. And respond to humanitarian crises around the world. Yeah, it kind of sounds like Bill Gates, doesn't it? And by the way, this morning, Bill Gates was all over the news. He was on The View, so he went on the credible shows. And he's talking about how terrible this is. He said, USAID, it's not a partisan issue. I donate to all the causes USAID does. Okay, Bill, I'm pretty glad it's shut down and their beautiful charitable work. When I saw that, it's like, this sounds like stuff Bill Gates says he does. And then this morning, Bill Gates is trying to run cover for USAID. It's like, have y'all not learned this is not the guy to run cover for you? But anyway, he's just like, yeah, this is what I do. It's really important stuff. It's like, I'm really glad it's shut down. So we mentioned there, boy, we can't mention that enough, that a really important aspect of the work that USAID does is promoting democracy, right? Promoting democracy. How do they promote democracy? Well, let's check out RFK Jr. spilling the beans to Tucker Carlson about how they promote democracy. And, spoiler alert, before he spills the juice on that, he talks about, USAID, it's a CIA front organization, meaning it's kind of like a shell organization the CIA set up. So the CIA can do things they're not allowed to do while looking like it's not them. By the way, on The View today, Bill Gates said, if this USAID shutdown isn't rectified, there will be another pandemic. Thank you for the threat, Bill. You can go sit right down too. Here's RFK Jr. talking just a little bit about USAID and how they promote democracy to Tucker Carlson.
2014, there are riots in, it's called the Maidan Rebellion in Ukraine, which we're not told that we are financing those riots. The newspapers never told us, our government never told us. USAID, which is a CIA front, put $5 billion into funding those riots.
Just so you know, he said $5 billion of our taxpayer money into funding riots in Ukraine to do what? Stay tuned.
Those riots lead to a coup d'etat against the first democratically elected government of the Ukraine.
Okay, let's break that down for the people in the back. The USAID, which Part of their mission statement is they help promote democracy. Cool, thanks for doing that. How do you do it? Well, they used $5 billion to fund riots in the Ukraine that leads to the overthrow of the first ever democratically elected government in the Ukraine. So you overthrow the first democratically elected government in the Ukraine? Yes, we did. And we did it to promote democracy. Cool. So then is installed Zelensky, not a democratically elected leader, but remember, we're promoting democracy here. It's great. And Zelensky, not too long ago, well, he canceled the democratic elections in Ukraine. He did it also to help save democracy in Ukraine. So I dare say USAID, their promotional efforts for democracy in the Ukraine, it helps democracy grow in both Ukraine and here in the US. Boy, what'll the world be like without them anymore? What's up, my friend? Here's my abs. Now, it turns out the key to losing weight, it's not in carbs or fats or even in probiotic-rich foods. Nope. The end game to having a healthy weight, as well as more energy and a long, healthy life, comes down to flipping a switch in your body. This switch flushes out unnecessary calories, and Dr. Stephen Gundry calls it the caloric bypass. And by activating this specific process, he has seen thousands, yes, thousands of people dramatically improve their health, even over the age of 50. This includes losing weight, having tons more energy, and having great, vibrant health just like you did when you were young by activating one key process. Dr. Stephen Gundry has lost 70 pounds himself through this process, and he's kept it off for 20 years. And his digestive issues are gone, his health is fantastic, and he feels younger and healthier than he did in his 40s. His video has been watched by over 20 million people, and you can watch and learn about it yourself at healthyfat.com/JP. It's linked below, and you can watch the video for yourself to learn how he has kept the weight off at healthyfat.com/JP.